It's Holistic Harmony Javi, your holistic peak performance coach. Welcome to the first episode of the last season, first episode of the last week of this season for High Vibe Live, and it is resolving inner conflict. So this is something that's true for me right now. I'm feeling a lot of inner conflict today. I'm feeling a little weird energetically, a lot going on, and there's been a lot of conflict that has arisen within me today. And so I'm just trying to explore that. Going to be joined by my brother Dell, and we're going to explore how that inner conflict arises and what we can really do to help mitigate it. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. My brother got the belt on.
Hey, what's up, brother?
It's good to see you, man. I was just telling them we're talking about inner conflict, and today was a day I felt a lot of inner conflict today. So it's perfectly right on time. Yeah.
Let's explore that.
Yeah, let's explore it. But first, man, I want to introduce you really quickly. So for anybody that doesn't know, I met Dell through the Modern Renaissance, man. But Dell is an amazing coach, doing some really great things with the True Essence Connection. And I would love for you to just explain, what that means to you and what it is.
Yeah. So, and thanks for the introduction, bro. I am so grateful to have found MRM, and just you guys' mission and the expansion of that group from my short time there. But I just see so many heart-centered men together, pretty much being this revolution of what's needed for a lot of men out there. So
yeah, for sure.
Always an honor. And with True Essence Connection to me is a connection that we all have, but what happens is we have an illusion that we're not connected there. So the connection is who we really are when we're able to step out of the identities, the situation we have in life, our structures, our beliefs, and really get into a knowingness, go from the beliefs to a knowingness of knowing who we are at all times, who the person is before those experiences, who the person is being in those experiences, and connecting to that. And then from that space, being able to navigate your life with that connection and that knowingness, and just allow life to unfold the way that it needs to unfold or how it should unfold. But also, you already know you are the creator of your reality,
right?
But getting into that beingness and knowing that and integrating that and being that in your life, it just allows the flow of life to unfold.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly how it is. We got some people joining. Thank you guys for joining in. So it's funny. So today was a day that I felt a lot of inner conflict, and so I'll paint the picture a little bit. So it's the 21st. It's the solstice. I've actually been looking forward to this day for a long time, for about like 2 years now. And even though in the days leading up, I told myself it doesn't have to be this, really great big thing where something happens, but to just accept whatever it is that comes. But even in the midst of trying to do that, I still feel that conflict within, like it should have been this way. It's my own expectations kind of getting in the way. And so it's my own expectations that's allowing me to feel this. And then it's just also, I don't know, it's just a lot of energies just floating around, and it's got me more dense than I normally am. So today's been a day where I've had to deal with that inner conflict, and it's one of those things that I'm still kind of working through, right? Even now, right? But I think it's one of the things that we have to continuously show up. So I wanted to ask you, Del, what times this year have you really felt that inner conflict, and what have you done to really like help mitigate that in those moments?
Yeah, for me, inner conflict, it happens a lot for myself still. The question is, and it's just like life, when something unfolds, what do you do with it? So this energy, like you mentioned, with the solstice and all this stuff happening, collectively, we can all attest to it. It's a powerful energy that's happening on the collective, and externally, you see all these different things happening, these illusions of the tension, the viruses, all these things that really it's feeding into these parts of us that may have us afraid, may have us angry, may have us accepting more about life. But a lot of us out there, like you and myself, and I'm pretty sure people are listening, we're using this time to really start going within. And we made that declaration of really doing this self-exploration deeper within ourselves. And in the process of doing that and shedding that light of who you really are into your own beingness, into your life, things come up.
Yeah,
It's like shedding a light in that those little crevices, parts of yourself, but then these things come up, and we have a choice when it comes up. Do we go into this woe is me, why is this happening, the victim mentality, or blaming external circumstances for what's happening? It could be because this person said this to me, or this relationship happened to me, or my family did this, or the environment, or my astrological sign, and all these other things. They're factors, of course, but we have a choice of whether or not we're going to give our full power to that external thing, or use that powerful force or whatever emotions happening to allow us to be able to sit with ourselves and shift that energy. But in the process of shifting it, the first step is accepting what is happening right now, because it's here. There's nothing else. There's no other thing that could have happened besides what is happening right now. And the acceptance of it right now, you're no longer having that conflict with it should be this way, it should be that way. You're starting to get into more of a peaceful state. Okay, this is here right now. And the awareness of that is it's only a moment. And in this, it may be painful for a little bit, but the quicker you can be able to surrender to it, the quicker it's going to be able to work through you, and the quicker you're able to transmute that powerful energy from wherever it is right now to a place of love.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And honestly, that's the one reason that I'm still, I'm going through it, but I definitely feel a lot better just simply because I accepted it. And I knew that regardless of what it was that caused this, it's just like, this is what I'm feeling right now. So I just have to accept it. And in that acceptance, I definitely feel a lot better in allowing it to go through. And I think when things carry on into the next moment, it's usually because we're creating that friction within ourselves by having those thoughts. Like you said, it should be different right now. It should be different. Like this shouldn't be happening. And that alone causes that moment to bleed into more and more areas of your life. And so for me, I allow myself to feel whatever it's feeling. It usually doesn't last too long, but always when I tell myself that I shouldn't be feeling this way, I have the tools, and I create that inner conflict, that's when it prolongs for a long period of time. Like I don't anticipate waking up tomorrow and still feeling this kind of funk, simply because it's just like, okay, it's here. What is it trying to teach me? And I think it's just trying to teach me to let go of the expectation of anything happening the way it's supposed to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And great awareness to that. And that's the part of being able to get into that place of really, I call it understanding. Because from the inner, it goes to the under. So going to the heart and then going to the mind and the coherence with it. But really being able to understand that we're infinite beings. So infinite beings mean that we're going to process a lot of things. It's going to keep going. I had that same belief before when I was like, oh man, like I'm having this powerful awakening in this heart center space. I thought like, oh, so this is where I'm going to be for the whole time. I'm going to be blissed out and walking around and all this other stuff. And I forgot to say, I think the Buddha said it. He was like, what does the person do before enlightenment? They wash dishes, wash the clothes. And what they do after? Wash dishes, wash clothes.
Right.
But like when I thought about that, it's different because like when you are washing clothes, you can get really present and start being this, and you're a different person, even though we're doing something that we always do. Like you and I have this conversation in this moment, and then when we have another conversation, whenever we are, we're going to be different people, different states, different awareness with that. And in that process, there's going to be moments that, we're going to feel some type of way. We're going to get upset. We're going to be angry or get sad or whatever it may be. We're infinite, so everything comes through. It's who you're being and that awareness and just knowing that who you are, you're not this emotion, you're not the anger, not just the anger, not just the sadness, not just the depression. You're in the space that's much bigger than that. And once you're able to accept it and surrender to it, it allows you to step into that bigger space in which you can be able to see this as an experience of what's happening, but also the universe is helping us to be able to release these things from us as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's huge, man. And this is exactly the conversation that I needed to have and hear. And you're absolutely right. I saw a post or something. Yeah, I think it was a post that said, you can't rush through infinity. Like, there's no point in trying to rush through infinity, right? And that's what we're trying to do. And I catch myself in those moments of trying to rush through things and having that hamster wheel kind of energy. And even though I teeter between one of two things, and sometimes this causes a little inner conflict for me. I teeter between like wanting to be very busy because I like it and it's fun and I enjoy it, and especially when I'm getting to help people and work on my gift and my craft. But then it's a very fine line, and I find myself slipping into, I need to do this so that I could, so that I can leave my mark on the planet, and almost that scarcity, like I'm not doing enough, so I need to do more. And it's tough because you can be on one side of that and be having fun, and it's not coming from a place of scarcity, and then out of nowhere you switch to the other one, and then it almost, at least for me, it makes me feel like when I was that it being in that other space was really almost somewhat of a facade, and then so that creates a lot of inner conflict within me. And the only way that I allow myself to let that dissipate is by accepting, like you said, that it is temporary and that we are here having this infinite experience, and these things are going to change. These emotions are going to change, and that they're gonna come and go. I think impermanence is one of the number one things that we can deploy. Just understanding that a monk that really, whose story really resonates with me, is his name is Milarepa. And Milarepa was somebody who was a hermit, went out into the mountains, and taught his students the idea of impermanence, which works both ways. If something good is happening and you're amazed and delight in knowing that it won't be forever, and it just allows you to savor it just that much more. Like, it's just, the bite is just that more delicious because you won't have it again, or at least the same exact way. No river is the same. Whether we stand on it a day later, the water that's there is different. It's different in one way, shape, or form. And then also, when things are bad, knowing that it's impermanent, knowing that it'll pass eventually and things are temporary. So it's one of the things that I deploy the most whenever I'm having that inner conflict. But I think the key here is, though, knowing that it's a very subtle, like almost form of resistance internally. And if you're not very aware, if you're not slowing down, it's easy to miss it. Like you could really miss it and not know what it is that's really bothering you. Has that been your experience? Like, it's a very small, subtle, like internal feeling?
Yeah, yeah. For myself, and then also with experiences, it's repetition. It's like anything. So, like working out, you're in amazing physical shape. It's a repetition. Keep doing it and keep doing it. That's going to help build you. And it's the same thing, like in this world of spirituality. It's like a gym. Life is a gym for us to really put these spiritual muscles to the test. But the cool thing, I love what you mentioned before when you say you go to inner conflict and you have all these tools that you're able to use, which is powerful because it helps you to be able to work through these things. But what happens is the stronger your muscles get, the easier things get, the easier you're able to flow with life. Oh, somebody, I was reading what the comments said.
Yeah, I dropped it in for him.
But yeah, so the more we're able to work these muscles, the stronger we're able to handle these things in life. But in the process of it, the universe throws those curveballs at us. Like, oh, you think you're strong? Let me throw this one thing at you to see, like, this is how strong you think you are. Yeah. But it's a beautiful experience. It's pretty fun. And like you mentioned too, it's temporary. Yeah. It took me a while to like really
come to terms with that.
Come to terms with the fact that it's a temporary experience, like all the emotions. But when we're like so engulfed in, let's say, like anger or stress or whatever it is, we feel like it's going to last forever because we're so present in the moment with this emotion. So we feel like there's nothing else there. And we're so fixated on anger or sad or whatever it may be. But just imagine just doing that same thing when you're feeling happiness and feeling joy and feeling that bliss and like really being in the moment. And then on another level, what about being like that in every moment, no matter what shows up?
Yeah, I think that's so crucial, man. One of the biggest images for me is like imagine yourself in a dark room with mouse traps everywhere, right? And your goal is to get from one side of the room to the other.
Yeah.
If there's mouse traps everywhere, you would step very, very carefully, like almost every inch of your foot would just go as slowly as possible so that it doesn't get, trapped. And it's the same thing that you just said. Imagine if we brought that level of intentionality and awareness through walking through everyday life, like in carefully stepping with each step, making sure to notice every single detail around you. It would be a completely different experience. It would be a complete different experience. And I know for me, sometimes I really have to slow down a lot because I'm naturally very fast, very go, 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 very hustler mentality. It's, it's East Coast. This is where I was kind of raised and I was
Yeah.
forged in these fires. But I'm noticing that now with this new world that we're building, it's a whole different paradigm. It's a whole different paradigm. And I have to adapt to this new paradigm of just more intentionality, less hustle, just like very, very smart movements and not just working hard, but working efficiently and working smart. And that's something that always just comes to get me. Always just like bites me in the ass sometimes because I'm always moving fast and I need to slow down. I'm curious though with you, man, has slowing down been a struggle for you, or is it something that you can naturally step into? Talk to me, man.
As for me, so I'm like, I slow down sometimes too much when I should be doing some more inspired actions.
Mm,
Because for me, and just a natural in my flow, I like to just be and like
mm,
really just slow things down, take things in, and sometimes to the point where I get a little bit too lazy about it.
mm,
And it's funny that you mentioned like for yourself, the go-getter, the hustler, that type of thing. And I have those moments when I do that hustling or the go-getter, and I had moments in my life when I was that. I have
mhm,
like 15, 20 years in sales. So
mm,
with the sales experience, I had to be the go-getter, the hustler, and things like that. But
right.
it took this moment when I took plant medicine that's
Mm,
really showed me possibility of slowing down and what can happen from there. And it made me question that whole hustling side of thing. Like, what am I pursuing? What am I looking to experience? What am I looking to get? Of course,
mm,
with the sales and stuff, I was trying to get money and
mhm,
all that other stuff, the stuff to feed the ego.
mhm,
But now I'm in the process of integrating both sides of things, meaning
mm,
it's okay to slow down and it's also okay to be that go-getter. The question about it is who you're being when you're doing that. Just imagine if you're able to bring your truest, authentic expression of yourself as that go-getter and hustling with that energy and just let it out. And what could happen from there? Like
yeah.
endless possibilities. It's sort of like the inspired actions and
Mm,
really with that intent of creating and also know who you are and really allowing yourself to really do it. I was just having a conversation too, synchronistically, of course, like everything yesterday about with somebody. We was talking about the internet.
mhm,
So like how the internet was when it first started,
mm,
and also like us as a kid, like way back before even the internet started compared to how it is right now, and just how back in the day we had to do so much action and so much work
mm,
to be able to have a conversation with somebody. Let's say like even a friend. We had to go to their house to see if they're there. We weren't able to text message them.
mhm,
We weren't able to have like this conversation we're having right now.
yeah.
We had like regular telephone, like calling each other or things like that, or even ordering stuff, finding out information. We had to go to a library, go in the encyclopedia, look at the books.
Mm,
And the way that this energy is now, and you see externally, like with this, it's more effortless.
mhm,
There's more effortless opportunities for us to be able to use what the universe has created for us as it expanded with the internet, with all these options and being able to have conversations with people all across the world. Before
mhm,
you had to pay a
mhm,
long distance charge to be able to do that. But like having these conversations, or like putting a post out on social media, you don't know who you're going to be able to reach with that.
so true.
And it's an exciting opportunity because if we use this energy the right way to authentically just express ourselves
Mhm,
and just give it to the universe, because this internet is like a universe, and allow
yeah.
the universe to take care of things, it's a pretty powerful and effortless thing. But also integrating that hustling mentality, like
Mhm,
really using that. that swag and that
Hmm.
energy how you are and get it out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Del, because honestly, I was having a little bit of difficulty being grateful today. And normally it's not very hard for me at all. But just bringing that into perspective, how easily it is to connect with people when 5, 10 years ago it was extremely difficult. And so that's one thing to be grateful for. And if you can just, at least for me, it's just getting the ball rolling on the gratitude train, on the gratitude snowball. Like as soon as I can really feel something to be grateful for, it's easy to anchor in more things.
Yeah.
And so even now, I'm finally grateful for my breath.
Yeah.
And so I'm even just lightening up right now, even just from this conversation. So I really appreciate you, Del, man. I think we got a nice comment. I'll go ahead and read that in a second. But when it comes to inner conflict, I realize that at least with me, it's most of the stuff, most of the feelings that are quote unquote negative are because of that inner conflict, are because it's how I'm perpetuating the situation. It's the story that I'm telling myself. And the biggest thing is to know that you have those seasons, or you have those times, those ebb and flows, and not beating yourself up when you're in that low, not being overly manic when you're in the high even. You know what I mean? Like it's great to feel that when you're in the high vibrational state and you're feeling love and empowerment and all of those things. But it's just be mindful of the commitments that you kind of make at that point, because in those moments, at least for me, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that. And it's easy to overcommit yourself because you think that the energy that you have is going to be sustained for a long period of time. And then when it gets to the point where it might be a little bit low within the energy, it's like, oh, why did I agree to that kind of thing. So it's just something to be mindful of, but everyone's entitled to ultimately change their mind. So I completely understand that. I want to read a quick comment, Del, that we got in here from our brother Manny. He said, it's funny he brought that up. Over the weekend, I was watching a special on the 80s, and you dead ass had to do the most to plan a date or hang out with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how hard it was before to like talk to girls? Like now in the Tinder and all these online dating things that people can be able to have so many women or men at their disposal. Before, like we really had to court people, have a conversation with them, and
Yeah.
all these other things. And it's just everything collectively just so much more effortless. But it's like it's a great ripe opportunity for each and every one of us who
Mm-hmm.
may have like this dream or this idea or this business idea to bring themselves out. Just all this opportunity out there for you to speak your truth out there, because there's people
Mm.
out there who are waiting for you.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, man. It's for me, I started to attract people like you. I started to attract people like Voy Jose when I started really speaking what it was that interested me. Like I was going through these intense shifts within my awareness, within my lifestyle, and instead of keeping it to myself, I just decided to put it out there. And because I was like, this could help somebody. It's helping me tremendously. It could help somebody. And in that, and also it was not really caring what people thought about it. It was being just not being in Spanish. We have the word, it's called preocupado, which means preoccupied, which is interesting because that's the word for worry. So it's interesting how worry translates to preoccupying. So that's when you worry, you're preoccupying your mind. You're occupying your mind before it needs to be in that moment, and that's what worry is. So it's funny how the language connects there. But it's yeah, it's just something that's just really, really fascinating for me because I notice myself going through those highs and lows, and it's like just not being guilty is the easiest way to really allow yourself to really feel it through. But it comes in waves, as we said.
Yeah, it definitely does. With emotion wise, like some moments you're feeling very excited and ready to take on the world, and then there's other moments where like you just don't feel like doing shit. You don't feel like being bothered,
Yeah.
and the illusion that we have is discerning what is positive and what is negative.
Yeah.
Like what's a positive feeling, what's a negative feeling, or what way we're being is positive, which way we're being is negative, and what about just being?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's this is what infinite is about. Infinite is everything, all encompass, and the illusion we have, and it's not our fault because we've been conditioned to believe these type of things that doing it this way is wrong. Not doing stuff is lazy. You should be out
Mhm.
there doing work. You're
Mhm.
supposed to be doing this and stuff. And from my own experience, the most valuable things I have experienced in my life is those moments I was able to just be with myself.
Yeah.
Like really just tune out everything and just be with myself and
Mm.
be in that space for myself, because it allowed me to show up in the world differently, because I'm handling my shit by
Mhm.
myself, so that way the world doesn't have to handle my shit.
Yeah, exactly. No, I love that phrase, man. I say that all the time to myself. It's like if I put myself through the grindstone, at least it's on my terms, and then life doesn't do it as hard. I think one thing that came to me, Del, while we were talking, and I really appreciate this conversation, man, because it's the identity as well for me that causes that inner conflict. So, for example, I base my identity on being somebody who's really consistent, on somebody who's a hard worker, on somebody who's like all of these things. So whenever I'm not exuding that, that starts to create inner conflict. So today was a day that created inner conflict because I wasn't exuding all of those things that I base my identity on. When in reality, that's not my identity to begin with. Those are the egoic identities. Those are the identities that come from the conditioning, and for a lot of people, they might still be in that egoic conditioning and not be able to separate themselves. But even for me, I can separate myself and I can take that step back and understand that I'm not these emotions. I'm not my ability to work hard. I'm not my consistency. I can understand that. But even in the thick of it, I still get lost and need these reminders. And that's why I think we really do all need to be here at different points within our journey to remind each other and to remind ourselves, for some of us to show the way, other people to start to lead. I mean, I think we're all here, and it's like that by design, because I really needed this conversation, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, and likewise. And I'm here to also remind you that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's if we have these expectations that we're supposed to get things right a certain way in life, and it's like if we lived our expectation fully, let's say like if we did every single thing we expected ourselves to do, it wouldn't even fathom to the possibilities of what the divine, the universe has for us, like
Mm,
those type of things of allowing that. And in these moments, and it's just great awareness, like bringing yourself to this point of like, yeah, I felt like I should be doing more and all these other things, and I was okay with that. I was sitting with that,
mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure there were circumstances before, if you want to take a quick look at that, in which when these emotions came up, you did something different than what you're doing right now.
Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. It
That's
was
growth, baby.
no, it's true, man. It's true. In the past, it would have been very much either distraction, either what's the word, unaligned action. So there's aligned action and unaligned action. Aligned action is just like taking action from a different place, from a place of abundance, or that's aligned with where it is that you want to go and who it is that you want to be more than anything. The energy that you want to exude. Uh, and then uninspired action is just doing just to do, right? It's like it's the difference between running outside and running on a treadmill. You know,
Hmm.
you'll exert some energy, but you're not really going anywhere
Yeah,
versus like running outside.
yeah,
So there's been a lot of times, man, where I've just been like working on something and then just get this overwhelming feeling and literally have to stop, go lay down on the ground and just breathe for 20 minutes, and that's it. That's all I can do in that moment. And I think it's okay for people to understand that that happens, but the best thing that you can do is to feel it through. And maybe that's what you need to do is turning off the phone, or just being with yourself and just breathing that in. And that allows that inner conflict to dissipate a little bit more, because you're being with yourself. You're not putting on different things to distract you from yourself, because ultimately those things are just yourself. Like those emotions that you're feeling is just a part of you. They're not the totality of your existence, but they are a part of you. And I tell my clients all the time, man, it's very hard to focus on just doing small things, like whether it's your habits, like whatever it is, if you're feeling overwhelmed emotionally. Like I had a lot of clients where we were focusing on fitness and nutrition, but most of the check-ins you know, we were talking about different things that were happening in their relationships, either romantically or like with the family and things like that. And it was because it was hard to focus on those things when they weren't feeling like all there emotionally. And so we have to understand that emotions are very powerful currents. They're more powerful than thoughts even, because emotions pull us. They influence behavior more than thoughts do. Like you can have a thought and it doesn't necessarily influence your behavior, but if you're having an emotion, it's very likely that that's going to influence how you move in the day to day. And so it's understanding that these emotions are really powerful and we have to honor them however you see fit, right?
Yeah. And that's like one of the catch 22s, because when those emotions come up, we all are conditioned to like suck it up, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, make sure you do your work, or here, take this drug, watch some Netflix, or drink some alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
have sex with multiple women or
Mm-hmm.
men, do these things to distract ourselves from feeling ourselves. But it's funny how the universe is playing it out right now with this whole pandemic that's
Right,
happening,
right.
because all these external things, for the most part, are being shut down. Of course, it's still Netflix and all these other things happening, but we're being forced to go within. There's like
Mm-hmm.
distractions are being shut away,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this is a ripe opportunity for all of us to really be able to understand why we are the way that we are in this moment. And if your life right now in this present moment is something that you would like to experience in your life, then it's time to like really just be aware, like why I don't like this, how am I showing up. That's what I've done in my life, and it allowed me to start going within and start to get
Mm-hmm.
this information on why I'm showing up, why what this person did this one thing gets me upset, what part
Mm-hmm.
of me is being upset by what this person is doing, or
Yeah.
even like when these emotions come up, oh, I'm experiencing anger right now. Okay. Before I'm like, that's just anger, and now I'm gonna be more angry. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, with these emotions, how they can dictate our life, because if we really embody this emotion of anger, we'll find every single thing out there that can get us upset and get us
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
get us sad, make us upset. But also, we can also find ways to feel grateful, feel love, feel happiness, feel connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's always our choice. That's the thing. It's just realizing that it's our choice, and our choices create the conditions for the emotions to be present. That's the thing. Whether or not these emotions that I'm feeling right now in this moment are mine, I still created the conditions that allowed them to exist. And in taking that accountability, it gives me a little more agency, and that agency resolves that inner conflict. At least for me, it does. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that it's just, it's you have to drop the sob story, drop the guilt at the same time, because those two, the guilt and the sob story, are compatible with that victim mentality. Like we said, like they're both just branches of that big tree. And so we have to just let that go completely. But it can be hard sometimes. It can be really difficult when we're having that reinforced from a lot of different places within our lives, specifically like maybe the relationships with people that don't really go within that often, and make and almost like the term that's coming to mind is gaslighting, like almost like, oh yeah, you should be upset because this happened to you and this and that. And so
Yeah.
it gives you almost permission to be like, yeah, you're right, like that was unfair, like this happened. And so it's, at least for me, I like to be very mindful of the people that I allow within my energetic field, so that the conversations that I'm having are empowering me, and not necessarily giving opening the door for me to revel in that victimhood. Were you on the call with Brandon Durrell with BAM?
No, I missed that. I wish I was there.
Gotcha. So there, I wanted to share something, Dell.
Yeah.
This was really good. He said that whenever he gets into these moments of whether it's self pity or it's just like woe is me kind of thing, he the term that he used, said he said, I allow myself to feel it, but I don't pitch a tent there. So maybe I might make some s'mores,
Mm,
maybe I might light a fire, but I don't pitch a tent there. And I thought that was really interesting, the idea of pitching a tent within this idea. And I asked him, how do you know when you've crossed that line? Like you said, you might build a fire, make some s'mores. How do you know when you actually pitch the tent? Like at what point is that, do you cross that line? And what he said that really stuck with me was, once I really start to revel in that woe is me, once I really start to revel in that victimness, that's when I know I've started to pitch the tent. So there's a difference between allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, and then the step after that is justifying, I guess, what you're feeling based on these external actions and these external circumstances. I think that's when that line is kind of crossed. So it's like, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling whatever. Pitching a tent is being like, at least for me, I'm feeling anxious because this person did this and that, and life is unfair. And that's when that starts to like devolve, and that's when you're pitching a tent in that victimhood, and that's only going to create more inner conflict, because it's almost a conflict between the ego and the spirit. And the ego is temporary, the spirit knows that it's not, and so this conflict is between these two parts of ourselves. And the easiest way to dissolve it is to be aware of the ego, understand that things are infinite, understand that things are also temporary, and just dwell in that neutral space almost. At least that's what really helps me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to go deeper into that now because we're
Let's
talking about
do
the
it.
ego now.
Let's do it.
And this is from my own experience with the ego. And before, I guess early on in my spiritual journey, and there's a lot of people out there talk about it and say like the ego death. You got to kill your ego. You got to kill your ego. So like for me, I was so hell bent on like, I got to kill this part. I got to kill this ego. I got to kill this ego. And I sat with this and I asked myself this question, like, how can I kill something that's a part of me? Like
Mm-hmm.
this ego, because the ego served us to a certain extent. The ego, and it
Right.
still can serve us as well when we're able to shift our relationship with it. And
Yeah.
for me, I call it ego reset, resetting that relationship with the ego, in which
Mm.
before the ego was in charge mostly of us, and it was, or the ego is in charge of how we're being, how we're living our life. But then there's a way of shifting to allow yourself to be higher than the ego. There's a
Mm.
space that we can get into the deeper we go into our self-exploration and going within ourselves, that we can rise and expand even bigger beyond the ego, and then start to see for what it is. The ego is this part of us that's always going to have information. No matter what we're doing, it's going to say something. It's, oh, it may be a judgment here or whatever it may say, because it's based upon our conditioning
Yeah.
that we had up to this moment. But also the ego can be a very great, powerful tool
Mm-hmm.
once you're able to integrate that relationship with it, and
Mm.
also to build that. Like for me, when I meditate, I sometimes have conversation with the ego. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
hey, buddy. Like I gave it a name. I call it Rumpelstiltskin. Hey, Rumpelstiltskin, what's up, man? What's going on? So it's like a fun relationship with it compared to like, why is
Mm.
this thing saying this to me again? Why is this happening?
Mm.
It will always do that. We,
Mm.
like you mentioned before, we have a choice of whether or not we want to roll with whatever the ego says, or we want to stay in this higher vibration and awareness, this infinite being, what we are. And Wayne Dyer said it perfectly. He
Mm.
said you have two choices in life. You could either be a host to God or a hostage to your ego. It's your choice.
Mm.
Only two choices.
Mm. Yeah, that's a big one, man. Because I felt the same way. I felt the same way. It was definitely like, I gotta eradicate it, like
Yeah.
completely, dissolve it. And then it just became it became integrating it. It became, instead of disillusion, it became integration, and just operating out of a place of awareness. Because before, I was operating purely out of ego and would only catch it few and far between. Now operating from awareness, and now I'm catching myself operating within ego in small little bits and pieces. So before, maybe operating out of let's say out of 1,000 different decisions, 999 of them might have been from a place of ego. And then the other side, let's say who I am now, 1,000 situations, 1,000 circumstances, and maybe 900 are coming from a higher place of awareness, and 100 are coming from the point of ego. I have a choice even at that point, and that's to get upset. Oh man, like 100, you know what I mean? Or I could just be proud of that progress and know that in the past I might have been operating 900 times and now it's 100. And so one thing that really helped me, even in meditation, a friend of mine, Monica Adams, we were meditating in a, where was it? It was a park, and there were, it's outside, so you get the outside noises. And she said something that really shifted my perspective when it comes to meditation and being disturbed. So a lot of the times, at least for me, ego may come up in the sense of like thought patterns, or maybe I'm trying to focus on the stillness and I'm right by the window. So like an ambulance rolls by like it just did, or a car horn. And one thing that really shifted my awareness was when she said, honor that car horn, for example, as a part of the now moment. So instead of being like, oh, that broke my concentration, saying, huh, that's just a part of the now moment, and allowing it to anchor you deeper within. So that is really huge because, like you said, taking a playful kind of approach with our ego and just be like, oh, there's that pesky ego again at play. It's a much different energy and allows us to not dwell within that inner conflict when you take that playful approach versus when you take that very bitter, almost angry, like, oh man, why is this happening? This shouldn't be happening. And being playful, I actually made a video a while back, Del, on I have names for a ton of different parts of me, So I basically name all the characters within me. So I'll give you an example. I have Kirk, the inner critic. So Kirk is always trying to tell me, that this isn't good enough. Like, you need to do better. Like perfectionism. He's the perfectionist within me, and I call him Kirk because when I can disassociate from that, I can learn that that's not really me. It's just a part of me. And so I gave him the name Kirk. I have another person who's Walter the worrier. So Walter's always worrying about everything that's going on. It's just like, oh, this isn't going to turn out right. What if this happens? Oh, they're not going to like it. Walter's always worrying about everything. So that's Walter. Then I have Vinny, the vindictive ego. So Vinny wants to do everybody dirty. He's just like, yo, this guy gave me a ticket. Fuck him. He wants to do everybody dirty. He wants to do them like they might do me. But once again, in identifying that as a character named Vinny and not necessarily who I am, that allows me to not have that conflict because I'm not fighting with myself. I'm embracing a part of myself, which is unconscious, a part of myself that is that ego. And I have a whole bunch of other names. I think I have Kirk the Inner Critic. Yeah, I have a couple other ones that I'm forgetting at this moment, but I think that's a huge, huge thing. I highly recommend everybody do it, is give names to just the different aspects of yourselves that always like kind of weigh you down. The last one is Gary the Guesser, who's always trying to guess what's going on. Oh, the 21st is approaching. I wonder what's going to happen. Do you think we'll get superpowers? Do you think aliens will come? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Always guessing, always guessing.
Yeah.
And so I have to be like, Gary, calm down. We'll find out when we get there. And even like in the days leading up to this, Gary was guessing and guessing and guessing. You know what I mean? And it was hard to quiet him down. But it was one of those things that in naming him allowed me to just step a little bit outside of it, in knowing that you are the observer behind the thoughts. You're the observer behind the emotions, like that kind of energy. But it only comes when you're able to disassociate and detach a little bit from it and get that bird's eye view, which can be hard sometimes.
Yeah. Another one, I don't know if you ever tried this before, is whenever these thoughts start to arise, start writing the thoughts down on a piece of paper, whatever these thoughts are, and then just be able to look at it, because physically you're the observer of your thoughts, which happens in meditation, but physically you get to see it happen. And as I'm observing my thoughts, I get to see these things. And a lot of times looking at thoughts, you just start laughing. It's like,
really. That's powerful, man. We used to do that, or we had that practice. It was called free writing in high school, where basically pen to the paper, you just write whatever's on your mind, allow it to just flow through. Like, even if you're writing blah, 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 like a bunch of times, you just allow whatever's in your head. And that's my journaling practice in the morning. What my journaling practice looks like is just pen to paper. I just write whatever comes out, comes out. Some days it's beautiful, amazing, poetic, like and other days it's just a whole bunch of just word vomit. It's just like idea to idea to idea. But it, once again, like you said, it allows you, because it's happening in meditation, it's happening all throughout the day, but because it's happening so quickly and within this realm, within the space, it's hard to actually see it. But when you put it down on paper, you can actually see it and disassociate. And I think that's a really huge way to resolve that inner conflict once again, man. So that's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. So as we're getting ready to wrap up, man, anybody, if you guys have questions within the in the audience, please, in the community, please drop them in. We're going to be talking about it. Maybe you have some suggestions on how you deal with your inner conflict that could help us. But as we're getting ready to end, Del, I would say, you know, what are you trying to really, or what are you going to be anchoring in for this next year? Like what emotion do you really want to be present? Like what do you really want to anchor in to 2021?
I would say a deeper awareness into unconditional love.
Mm,
Was synchronistic because we had our topic on our men's group about that.
right.
But yeah, I've been working on that, and that's what I've been working on, choosing that in more moments of just being in that unconditional love, and
Mm,
also just to be more Christ-like into life.
yeah, I feel that.
Being in that way of just unconditional love, unconditional everything, unconditional, have no
Mm-hmm.
expectations, but just being and serving,
Mm,
and just knowing also that's just going to take care of everything else, and just to really be able to see every single person for who they really are. And pretty much who we really are is God expanding itself through us in a unique
mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to have a conversation with somebody and seeing that, it'd be pretty cool just to see what miracles happen by just having a conversation and just having that awareness. Like, listen, like this conversation right now, you and I'm seeing this. I'm talking to God right now.
Mm-hmm. Same, brother, same. I love that, man. That's honestly, that's such a beautiful, amazing way to put it, man, because it's, once we can let go of those conditions and let go of those expectations, because it's the conditions and the expectations are one and the same, right? So once we can let go, it's such a beautiful process. We got a quick question. That shirt with the indigenous person is pretty fire. Where can I cop one?
I think I got it from Walmart. I think either Walmart or Amazon.
Yeah, even Andrea had an amazing comment. She says, "We are miracles." And that's so true. I mean, the chances of us being exactly who we are is 400 trillion to one, which is an insane statistic, an absolutely ridiculous number. So it's about time that we really start honoring that. It's about
Yeah,
time that we really remember that and really start moving like we are one in 400 trillion, because
yeah,
it's such a miracle to be here. So don't
yeah.
forget that.
That's one of those things, like to really integrate that knowingness of like, yo, like we're all unique and special, and we're powerful.
Hmm.
We just have to tap into it.
Yeah.
And in the process of tapping into it, we gotta get through these illusions and these conditions we had. But the more we're able to get through that, the deeper in love that we can get within ourselves. And then naturally everything else is going to show us the love as well.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all here to remember. Yeah, we are here to remember and to have these beautiful reminders. Like Del, anytime you walk around within any space, you serve as a reminder. You know what I mean? When you might grab a coffee and you're looking at someone in their eyes and just like the love is felt through that, that's a reminder. And so we all are just reminders, and we have to really acknowledge that and to just keep moving, knowing that some days we'll be the ones that are reminding, other days will be the ones that are being reminded.
Whoa. And then there's moments where you're both.
Yeah, at the same time. You know, it's powerful how that can happen. Like two people can be, you know, two spiritually aware people can be in a low state, and even just in identifying that within themselves can rise higher almost as a result. Like you and I, you know, you luckily you carried the torch and you were in a high state already, brother. But and I joined in a kind of low one. But it was really interesting. You were able to you know boost me up even just through the conversation. But had we both shown up in a kind of a low place, even just knowing, oh wow, we're not alone, and that's the power of our men's group, right? That's the power of the MRM. Is just like that we know that we're not alone in dealing with this, and that allows us to just get back to center, to just recalibrate, to realign, to resolve that inner conflict, and just jump back into where we need to, like that. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's alchemy right there. It's just like, it's synergy, it's alchemy, it's like energy production out of nowhere. Because I'll tell you, man, even just jumping onto the live in the beginning, I was like, oh man, I don't know, I'm not gonna be like super peppy and happy, like I'm really feeling this, but I need to just show up. I need to just show up,
That's it.
and that's it. And even in that, I got more energy just from this conversation, from this live. So, Del, I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, brother.
Yeah. And that's what it is, just showing up. We're here for each other. This is what the co-creation's about. We're here to support each other. We're here to grow together. And also, unconditionally, we accept each other for wherever we are in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
That type of energy is what is needed more into this world right now, because we get this, we're seeing what happens when we're not accepting others' beliefs. We're judging somebody for their beliefs or shaming them for whatever they may be doing, compared to just having a conversation like, oh, I honor where you're at right now. I honor you and I accept you and I love you. It's perfectly fine where you're at right now. Let's grow together. And if you're not ready to grow together, cool. I still love you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, man. I'm noticing that more and more, even with my family as well. And just because I think many of them might believe that I am some sort of judgmental, because my lifestyle is different, and I might be more comfortable on social and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's just, for me, I'm always accepting of wherever they're at, and I'm just like, here for when you want to take a step in the right direction, I'm here for you. But if you want to stay where you're at, that's fine. I'm going to love you regardless. So that unconditional love is definitely the energy that I'm going to be bringing in next year as well, man. I think that's going to be my intention for the year, is just no expectations, just all unconditional love.
Yeah. And pretty much like in that frequency, you're like, universe, I know you got it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just here to love.
Yeah.
And I know you got it. Compared to the other type, conditional loving is like, nah, God, get out the way. I got this. And it's like, good luck. Good luck.
Good
Let
luck.
me know how much of a struggle and conflict you're going to have with that, by just like feeling that whatever way that you're trying to conditionally manipulate things is more better than what God could have planned for you, by really just letting go and being in love and just being in the moment.
Yeah, man. Needed to hear that one, bro. So last question, man, before I let you go. I need to hear the story of the belt, man. I know you're a big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Would love to hear, how you've integrated into your content and what it really means to you.
Yeah, perfect. So a couple months ago, in April-ish, my father passed away due to COVID-related symptoms. And at that time, I had a choice. Did I want to go into victim mode, or did I want to use this powerful force and emotion that are happening to propel myself? I made the choice, like, I'm going in, and whatever shows up is meant to show up wherever it needs to. I'm just going to love these aspects of myself. And I went through everything, went through the emotional wheel for every type of emotion, but I was loving it. I was accepting it. And I was really using this time to go deeper within myself. And it came to a moment, I was just thinking about memories of my dad. And I remembered even more recently, even as a kid as well, that I used to have conversation with him. We used to watch wrestling. That was one of our connected moments of watching wrestling with each other, talking about the matches and those type of things. And as I started to integrate this part of myself, because it was a child part of myself that I was loving more, and also being more accepting of the relationship that I had with my dad, and being grateful for the moments that we had, because he helped me to so much information to help me grow. But in the process of this, I integrated this part of me. It was this 10-year-old part of me that was like, I really wanted a heavyweight championship belt, but I was told no as a kid. And I felt rejected at that time. And I asked myself, do I still want to get a championship belt? And I was like, yeah, I want to get a championship belt. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to get a championship belt. I can get one now. I'm deserving of one. And I kid you not, like 30 minutes after I was having that conversation, I looked up on Facebook, and this wrestling group was having a contest to win a championship belt. and I entered the contest. I was completely detached. Like, I'll probably win, but I'm okay if I don't.
Hmm.
And I kid you not, I won from there. I got this championship belt custom made, got my
Wow.
business logo on it and
Yeah.
everything with the cardinal, got my name on it. But
Wow.
right there, it shows you the possibility of one going within and starting to really allow yourself to heal and those parts of yourself and showing love for it. And from there, you just get these little nudges for things and things that you wanted before that you don't even think about. It's like, hey, I still deserve that. And then things start popping up. It just shows
Mm,
you the infinite possibilities of what can happen when you go within
mm.
and allow yourself to expand and things
Wow.
just start to happen. So that's why I got this belt. And also like just wearing it all the time, it's like for me, it's my dad is right here next to me at
Oh,
all
well.
times. So
Mm,
that's how I feel with it.
I feel that. I feel that. That's beautiful, brother. Thank you for sharing that, man. So, for anybody that wants to work with you, anybody that wants to tap into their true essence and really connect with their true essence, what how can they get in contact with you? What do you offer? What are you working on now? Let us know, brother, before we dip out.
Yeah. So what I'm working on right now is myself. So definitely doing that. But people can find me on my Instagram, True Essence Connection, all one word. You can go on my website, www.trueessenceconnection.com. And what I do first is I like to have conversation with somebody. I want to see where you're at before even deciding like, oh, let's work with this or work with that, because I want to see where you're at right now and also if you're ready to take that step, because
Mhm.
there's people out there who they have great wishes of wanting to or potentially want to change, but it's
Right.
like, do you want to
Yeah.
change?
Are you ready? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you really want, are you ready to do what's needed? And it takes that shift of like,
Hmm.
all right, I'm done with this. I'm ready to do it. And what I do is I offer that initial conversation. An initial conversation,
Hmm.
it's a straight up coaching session, 2 hours. We're having a conversation,
Hmm.
we're going into it. But I get to gauge and see like exactly where you're at with it and if I
Hmm.
could work with you. And
Hmm.
if you're ready to work with me, because not for the faint of heart, it's
Yeah.
intuitive. It's I'm going to say to you the things that are needed to be said to you to help you
Right.
to experience what you're looking to experience. And I know the first step of that is resolving this inner conflict, because
Mm.
if you're at war with people externally, it's just a reflection with the war that's happening within. And I allow
Exactly.
this space to go within to resolve that conflict. And then
Mm.
from there, what do you want?
Mm. I love that, man. It's like they say, when there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do no harm. I didn't
Ooh.
say that. Somebody
Ooh.
did.
You said it. It came through you.
That's
This is my
right.
first time hearing this. I'm like, I heard it from Javi.
My brother, Del, thank you so much for joining, my man. I love you so much, bro. Thank
Love
you.
you too, bro.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Whether you're watching it live or you're going to be watching it later, we really appreciate it. Hope this helped you understand a little bit more about why the conflict within you arises and what you can do to really dissipate that, really accept yourself, and just be and enjoy life the way we were supposed to. So, with that, I'll let you go, Del. Thank you again, man.
Thank you, brother.
Growth.
Love you too. Take care.
All right. Peace.